next talk is actually me, so please stay. So I'm not going to make a talk about Photon per se. So it's really about, there's going to be a lot of content and things that you can learn as well. So my goal here is that we go forward into competition, improve retention. So let's see if we can move that forward. There we go. So first, thank you to be here in Seattle at the Photon multiplayer track. So my name is Mark Val. So I've been in the online industry for a bit more than 20 years. I built studio for Ubisoft and Unity, but also built PlayFab, you probably know, with James and Matt. And now pushing up Photon because I strongly believe that this decade is the decade of multiplayer, while the previous decade was about live game operation. So let's see what we can do for you, but a little bit about Photon, and then that's going to be it about Photon. So we're growing like super strong. So we have more than 1 billion players across a pool of games. So we are worldwide available, including China. And so we have a new product called Photon Fusion, which can build battle royale games, but also smaller games if you like to. So we're extremely flexible. And yeah, if you don't know Photon, anyone know Photon? Raise your hand. All right, there's a few hands. That's good. That's good. Okay, so let's start. So 3 subjects that we have. So why competition? And then we're going to go into the tournaments per se, and then where to start for you if you like to do that as well. So anyone know what that is? Raise your hand. Yeah? All right, really right. Cool. This is the ice bucket challenge, isn't it? So the ice bucket challenge was literally, I challenge you, right? Which is competition from the start. People don't realize how much this campaign was successful. It's 150 million raised for ALS, which is great. But 60% of the videos generated from this campaign were not mentioning the actual cause. And the reason behind it is that competition is intrinsic, which means that if I challenge you to do something, your ego is going to be promoted, and then you're going to do a narcissistic decision, which is I'm going to participate as well, and I can do it. And in the end, the decision is pretty much selfish. And there's a lot of studies that are around it on why this campaign was successful. And it's mainly about the competition side of things, and not really about the actual cause that was behind it. So there's really good study to read about it. So I encourage you to look about the psychology behind it. But obviously, competition is everywhere. So if we look in nature, for example, if you're a group of people and there's a bear in front of you and this bear wants to run after you, what is the best path to survive? So some people will say, I'm going to run faster than all my other friends, so that way I'm going to be sure that I'm not the one getting caught by the bear. Or others will say, let's cooperate together and try to scare the bear. But essentially, it's a competition right away. And actually, competition is everywhere. It's in every state of life. It is in the economy, it is in the family, it is in politics, it is in product. It is in everything that makes us human. And if you look right away in the core of us, like in the cells that makes our body, there's a cells competition happening all through your life until you become an adult to choose how you're going to grow, how you're going to evolve, and how it's going to make you better to survive and actually thrive in your life. So if you go all the way deep into your DNA, every time, every moment, every second, there's competition happening into yourself. So in short, what is determining competition is the order, the status, but also the survival. Those are the 3 states that's going to influence your game design and that will actually make something happen. So if you look into gaming, we think about competition. We're going to think about esports, about the tournaments that is happening, and it's heavily pushed under like the prize size and how many attendance you had. And obviously we had COVID, right, recently, so it was very hard to organize a physical event. It was still happening online. So what sprung out of that, and there was a good solution for it, and I think your computer is lagging a bit, but that's fine. It's short in-game tournaments. So short in-game tournaments is really key to promote your retention inside of your game. So we're going to dive into this and why is it good for you and how we can do it as well. As I said, competition is important. Tournament is a solution to implement it in your game, and that's a way that you can succeed as well. So here is Stumble Guys. So Stumble Guys is an accident made by us. So we created a template for Photon Quantum, which is one of our products. And we found that the gameplay was really cool. We decided to skin it. And now we have Stumble Guys. So Stumble Guys is a 32-player game built on top of Photon Quantum. And all of what you're seeing now is on mobile, working in countries where internet is not so good, but actually the gameplay is working very well, no matter your connection. And competition is core to Stumble Guys. So it's an elimination game. So every match that you're playing, you're trying to eliminate your opponents and you move forward. Obviously, there's a lot of metas on top of Stumble Guys, and one is tournaments. So you can subscribe to a tournament, you spend some hardcore currency, and then you can participate into that tournament. Those tournaments can vary in length from 30 minutes to a few hours. Streamers themselves can also create their own tournament using our management system. So that way they can, promote to their community and have those huge, I'm telling very big tournaments. So what happens is that these streamers start to stream about the game, and then you have this whole organic effect of content happening on top of your game. So today, Stumble Guys is actually as popular as Candy Crush Saga, according to Google Trends worldwide. So we're pretty happy about that. I should remind yourself that Stumble Guys is 100% organic. There's absolutely zero marketing. We're running at about 90 million players per month, and it's still growing. So we're super happy about it. So let's look at the numbers. So since it's our game, we can be an open book and tell you everything about it. You have questions, we're going to answer that, no problem. So as you're saying, so we see the bumps on the bottom left. So those are concurrent users. So we have a top currently of 288,000 concurrent users, and this just keeps growing and growing and growing because of the effect of competition, of the tournament, of the streamers. You combine all of this together, you shake it a little bit, and you have good numbers. And obviously, you need a good game. The rating is good, 4.2. So we have about, today we have about 11,000 tournaments that happen. Some of these tournaments can reach 30,000 people at the same time. So I repeat, every single of these players will spend hardcore currency to participate in a tournament. Before you go in a tournament, you have to be extremely good at Stumble Guys because you need to gather that money and then you can go in. If you see it at the bottom right, so that's like the CCU count when a tournament is going to happen. So let's say I register for a tournament, it's going to happen in an hour. So, I go do something else, and then 10 minutes prior, I'm going to say, I'm going to train a little bit in Stumble Guys. So I go play a little bit and then participate in the tournament, and hopefully I'm going to win something. For players that participate in tournaments, the daily retention goes much higher. So the players who participate in those tournaments, you can see the blue line versus the players that don't participate in tournaments. There's a huge difference. So we should do a better job actually at promoting tournaments in Stumble Guys. So again, I highly encourage you to look at tournaments as a way to retain your players because of why. We call that the IKEA effect, which is I put value in something, I put time and work into something, I'm going to come back to measure myself versus the other people. Right? I was talking about intrinsic value earlier regarding the challenge and the ice bucket. It happens also into the mindset regarding gameplay. So you have to keep that in mind. But there's other examples. So there's a little game called a Little Legend Puzzle, which is in alpha a few games. But essentially it's super casual. It's a match 3 game, super fluffy, elevator music, as you can hear. Very casual, anyone can play that. It's a full hardcore PvP match 3 game. It sounds a bit crazy, but anyone can create a tournament at any time. So here I am going in the chat. Someone is saying, I created a tournament, joined my tournament. So now I'm joining a tournament, and it takes 30 seconds, 45 seconds. The tournament starts, and then everyone competes to each other, and then it's a match 3 game.
Your turn.
So even in gameplays that you think are not suitable for tournaments, you can do it as well. And obviously, when you go in the chat of this game, everyone is like, oh my God, then I'm gonna beat you, you use this card. And so you have this huge community bubble that is building on top of it. And then there's tons of metas. Obviously, you can build your little house, you have cosmetic, you have stickers, you have a bunch of things you can do around the game to be able to attract other cycle traits and having, there's clans as well, there's leaderboards on clans, leaderboard, single player, local, and all these things. This keeps on going. But essentially, again, the game is about elimination, about competition, about tournaments. So you have to look at that. And definitely there's other examples that we can that you can look for yourself. There's skills, which is pay to win. So if there's people here that does some NFTs or Web3 or pay to win, look at the skills tournament system. It's a good way to learn. And otherwise, we have other games like a Golf Clash that is also using Photon. They do tournaments that last a week, so much more different than the short tournaments, but it's working very well for them because when you play golf, there's 18 holes to do. It's pretty long, so it's a lot of energy, a lot of time you put inside of the game. And then Soccer Battle, which is also using our tournament system. But then you have to go on Discord, find your people, and then start a match. But then if you look also at supercells, like you're gonna have like clan tournaments that are in-game. It improves their retention. You should look at these as well in terms of examples of how to execute. So if I go on, there we go. So if we recapitulate a little bit, so tournaments will greatly improve, obviously, your player engagement because you want to perform, you want to showcase that you're able to do it, so you're going to train yourself, you're going to try to figure out what are the tips and tricks, you're going to go on the internet, you're going to see how the others are doing it, you're going to try to apply these things. And then if you involve streamers to be able to create content, so it means that they can create their own tournaments at any time. They can brand these tournaments. They will spread the love to their eyeballs that are looking at them every day, and it will just grow and grow and grow. And one thing that is important is that for all of these tournaments, there's a rake. So rake is a term that is coming from the poker industry, actually, or even like the casinos, where a percentage of the fees that people pay to get inside of our tournament just keeps at the house, right? So for example, for Stumble Guys, 30% of the money of the art currency being spent by the players to participate in a tournament will stay in the house, while all the rest of the money will be distributed in the winners. So it's a good way to promote, to have a sink in your game in terms of economy. So it's a good way to balance it and to move forward. So if we go like to the bare minimum of what can be a successful tournament system. So obviously you need your real-time PvP. If it's turn-based, you don't see the other one, you won't have the same effect. So it's very important. So in the match 3 game I was showing earlier, you see the other player playing. And that's very main to a real-time game. You have to see the others doing something. Obviously, you need cloud save, you need the leaderboard, the matchmaker, the rating system that we just seen with Josh, and having a good economy. And obviously, you need a CMS or a CRM to be able to see how your players behave and also to create those new tournaments for your players at any time. So what we created on our side is what we call Tournament SDK, for lack of a better word, of a better name. But essentially, it's for all the Photon Gaming Circle members. You can have access to our Tournament SDK and do exactly the same as in Stumble Guys. It gives you tools for you game designers, producers, or even developers to go in, plug in the APIs, obviously, but after that to have like a dashboard where you can create this content for your players. And what you will end up, well, is a very cool tournament. So I went a bit fast in my talk to showcase what is tournament for you, for competition, and how you can bring it forward. But essentially, the key of the talk is that if you bring players together, that they compete between each other, they're gonna definitely have a higher value that is going to be intrinsic to them, and that they will want to share even more to other players afterwards. So yeah, so that was competition for retention. Thank you. So anyone has question? All right. Yeah, someone's going to bring a microphone. It's more for the people who are online. Thank you, people online, for watching from home or from work. We love you, even if you're not here. You're missing a good event.
So I'm making an assumption here, and I may be wrong, but it'll lead into my question anyways. I saw in the ratings for Stumble Guy there,
Yep.
I had a high number of ones. We've all got games, we know what that's like, but
A high number of what?
1-star ratings on there.
Oh, okay, yeah, sure.
So I'm curious, is that a result of people having, I don't know, a negative experience through connectivity through a wider range of devices? Is my
Not at all,
assumption-
actually. So it's not connectivity at all. So why? Well, first, the game is extremely popular in India and Brazil and Southeast Asia, which the internet is not, reputable to be good.
Right.
And the 32-player game is having fun. It's really about the gameplay. So what happens is that in Stumble Guy, as you saw, right, you have all the players that just run around. When you're super high level, you can pick someone and throw them out of the map. Right? So obviously, if you haven't grinded enough to reach that, because you can have this option for free, then you get frustrated. And usually it's about that. So it's more about the gameplay, and some are saying, oh, those are bots that I'm playing against. Obviously, it's not. It's real players. So it's really dissatisfaction regarding the game itself. So then on our side, it's more about, okay, what can we do to make these people happy? But in general, 4.2 is pretty good, considering that there's over 1 million reviews. Yeah.
So my assumption was wrong. So then my question is can you speak to any challenges outside of just poor connectivity? Because again, like 32 players in a match is phenomenally amazing. I'm a big believer in it too.
Yeah. So yeah, sure. So go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, and so is there any challenges outside of just connectivity based on territory? But
yeah. So first, like when I was showing the the curve of concurrent players, so that is across 5 regions, right? So you have South America, North America, Europe, Asia, and another one. And so essentially, you have to balance that, right? So meaning that you cannot segregate too many players, right? So to make sure that you find a match as soon as possible so they can enjoy the game. So here's one thing. Okay, here's another tip, okay, that is not in the slide. So the first game you play is not against players. It's actually against bots, okay? So why is that? We want the players to win. So Quantum that we use, so Photon Quantum is what powers the game. It's a fully deterministic engine, so it means it's based on physics, it's input only, there's a lot of prediction, reconciliation, so that it works great. But then we also have our own bot SDK, so you can create bots. So what happens is when you go in a region and there's not enough players, you want to have a 32-player game. So let's say you have 18 players, so you connect those 18 players and then you add 14 bots, right? But essentially, this doesn't happen anymore because the game is extremely popular. There's players all the time. So it's really something that happens at the start. But it's great because what you want to have is the players to experience the game so that they can have appreciation. They can go in the gameplay, enjoy it, even if there's bots around and a few players. And that way, well, they're going to play again because if the game is fun, you're just going to stick to it. So the challenge is more about the execution of the first day of play. And then after that, if you did your job really well regarding matchmaking, bots, making sure they can play the game as soon as possible, then they're gonna come again. Because you saw the the retention rate, 50%. For players that don't play tournament is very good. And then for players that plays those tournament, then it goes to 90%. So the retention is crazy good. So the challenge is really to have a good network library, obviously. So I don't recommend anyone to do it on their own. It's going to take you 5-6 years to get something done, or if you pick something that is aftermarket. And then it's really about everything that Josh said earlier regarding ranking, skill-based matchmaking, and then the matchmaker itself. And to handle that properly, so then people have good match, because you want players to both win and lose. So if they win too much, they're gonna leave. If they lose too much, they're gonna leave. So you have to balance that very well. So yeah, those are the tips. Yeah. Cool. So no other question. That's fine, because now we have a super awesome talk, which I don't have my paper about. But anyway, so we have a talk about Gun Raiders, super awesome VR game. VR is hard to do. It's hard to scale these games.